Hi guys, Hamza here from Student Services. Wow, there's already a few people joining in already. That's a good sign. Hello. I'm trying to see who's here. So far is here. Leo. Hi, John. Oh, Jill, Adel. Wow, there's a lot of people already joining. Hello. Ryan joined. Alright, just give it a few minutes, guys, and we'll see if we can get another few people to come in. There's 20 already. Wow, that's quite impressive. Iris joined. Oh god, Iris joined. Hi, Iris. Hey, what's up, guys? Okay, so just while we're waiting for a few others, basically, so, there are some students who joined in January, and there are some students who have obviously, they've got classes still going on, and not everyone is off on summer. And usually this time of year, we'd be returning back into the buildings, and we'd be back into kind of the regular classroom schedules for a lot of the students. And we can't really do that right now. So we figured, okay, well, rather than, everyone just sitting at home and not getting any kind of student experience whatsoever, we would bring it live on Instagram. Because that's where we mostly, that's where we'll find you guys mostly. We won't really see you anywhere else. So we thought, why not just try and deliver a welfare session online? And I'm glad there's already like 32 people already online. So that's quite good. We'll try and keep this brief. It'll take about 25 minutes-ish. For those of you who have never tried anything that's related to, meditation or related to mindfulness, this is like a beginner guide, a beginner kind of intro. And hopefully we'll keep this going for the next few weeks, and we can get into more advanced techniques later on. Later on today, though, at 11:30, we'll have Maria Hunt joining us, and we're going to have a little discussion with her just in regards to like what she's been up to. For those of you who don't know her, she can give a little intro about herself. Maria was formerly on the SU, then she was also the welfare officer as well. She actually moved to the States for a year. She lived in New York, and she only came back like a month ago. So I'm sure she's got a lot of great stories. And she's also kind of the one that really spearheaded and kind of pushed the Tanzania trip. And we'll talk to her about that as well. All right, so it seems to be settling into around 30 odd people. So what we're going to do today is basically a brief introduction into mindfulness, and we'll talk a bit about what mindfulness is. I'll give you guys a general gist of what it is as a concept and how you can use that in your daily life, and how you can apply those mindfulness techniques, especially now when some of you might be living at home alone, some of you might be self-isolating alone or in lockdown alone, or even let's say you are in a shared accommodation with someone, and then there's too much interaction and you're kind of like, oh my god, I need my own headspace. So you can use these kind of techniques for that. And we're also going to talk a bit about deep breathing exercises as well, because it's good to kind of combine the two to have the most potent impact. So we'll start off. The main thing is you kind of want to know what mindfulness is. Like, you can't really practice something that you don't know what it is and you don't understand what it is. So mindfulness, it's a state of non-judgmental awareness. Okay, so what you're doing is that you're aware of everything that's happening around you and happening to you, your own thoughts and your feelings and your senses, but you're not judging them and you're not reacting to them. Yeah, so it's basically being aware of the present moment without responding to it straight away, without reacting to it straight away. Okay, that might not seem too clear, but we'll dive further into this. So there's two kind of key components that go along with this. The first one, awareness. Okay, so the goal with mindfulness is not for you to clear your mind or for you to stop thinking. Yeah, it's to become aware of your own thoughts and your feelings, rather than just kind of getting lost in them. So to give you an example, too many times you have a thought and then suddenly you just start getting into that thought, and it starts becoming like a negative compounding effect, where it just builds and it becomes more and more negative. And it could have just been a small little thought that you had, but it just gets, bigger and bigger. So the goal of this is to just kind of be aware that, you're not there to try and clear your mind or to stop thinking. that, okay, you've had a thought or you've had a feeling, and rather than kind of getting lost into it, you're learning to kind of let it go, in a sense that you can accept it and not let it overwhelm you. And that brings us to the second component of what mindfulness is. So it's accepting the thoughts and the feelings and the sensations that you notice in a non-judgmental manner. You're not there to try and solve every thought that you have or solve every feeling or try and figure out where it came from. Yeah. So if you, like, another example is, let's say you notice a feeling of nervousness. Let's say you're, after lockdown, you're going back out into the streets, you're going to the shops, and you're going to feel a bit nervous, you're going to feel a bit agitated, you're going to think, ooh, am I really as safe as I think, or am I this, or, and you might feel a bit nervous. And that's okay. And all you have to do is just simply say to yourself, oh, I'm feeling a bit nervous. Recognize the thought, recognize the kind of the feeling of it, and don't go further into it. Don't judge it, don't try and change the feeling. Just accept it in that moment for what it is and let it be. So try and keep those two things in mind. Be aware of your feelings and then also be able to accept them rather than getting too deep and too involved into it. Okay, so the technique we're going to use today is imagery. Okay, so as we talked about before, your thoughts have the power to change how you feel. So if you think of something sad, it's likely that you'll start to feel sad. Yeah? So if that's true, then the opposite is also true. So when you think of something positive and calming, you will feel relaxed. You will feel calm. And this next technique that we're going to use, and you can all kind of join along with me on this, it kind of uses that to reduce your anxiety levels and to help you, become more calm. Okay, so what we'll do for this is that if you guys can, put your phone away to the side and just make sure that you can actually just hear me, okay? And make sure you're sitting in a, comfortable position. You can sit with your back against a chair. You can lay down. Whatever you feel is really comfortable for you, do that in a sitting position or laying down, and have your hands in a, comfortable position. That's good for you, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to just put your phone away to the side, making sure that you can just hear me, okay? And you can close your eyes, because that makes it a lot easier. And what you're going to do is you're going to think of a place that you find comforting, okay? And it could be a beach, it could be in your bedroom, it could be in a mountain somewhere. And what we're going to do is for the next 5, 10, 15 minutes is we're going to use all of our senses to really imagine this setting in great detail, okay? And we're going to help you guys develop the techniques that you need to really kind of get the benefit out of mindfulness and using the imagery techniques, okay? So do be aware of that when we're starting the exercise. Okay, so let me just switch over to this. And yeah. So now, hopefully you're all either sitting down or laying down in a really comfortable position. And what we're going to do is you're going to listen to my voice and you're going to follow the instructions and go along with it, okay, to the best of your ability. And I can even play some relaxing music here for you all, so you don't need to worry about that. Here we go. Okay, so think of a place you find really comforting. Okay, so close your eyes. It could be the beach. It could be your bedroom. It could be in the garden. It could be in a park. Wherever this place is that you find really comforting, really think about it. Close your eyes and think about that place. But we're not just thinking about that place, fleetingly, or just a small little detail about it. We're thinking about it in great detail. So what we're going to do is, first of all, with your eyes closed and you're in this place, what can you see around you? Yeah? What do you notice in this place around you? Remember, you're closing your eyes and you're imagining your comfort space. You're imagining that place that you feel really, really comfortable. And now when you're in that place, what do you see around you? Okay. What do you notice in the distance? Take a moment to imagine all the surroundings that you can see in that place. And look for the small details that you would normally miss. So, if you are on a beach, look around how far out into the ocean you can see. Look around how far across the beach you can see. Take a moment to kind of look around the entire area of the beach, or whichever area you're imagining, and pick out the small little details. What color is the water? What color is the sand? Really try and notice the colors around you. Can you see any birds flying overhead? Can you see anything off in the distance? Okay. And now, keeping that in mind, if you do feel like you're being distracted, or if you do feel like your mind starts to wander, just remember, apply back to the mindfulness that we learned earlier, where you accept the thought and you are aware of it, and then you bring yourself back into following the steps, where you bring yourself back into following the steps of the imagery that we're doing. So we're looking around. What do you see? What do you notice? Take in all your surroundings and, really imagine the small details. Now what I want you guys to focus on is, what sounds can you hear? So again, if you are on a beach, can you imagine yourself hearing the sounds of the waves? Can you hear the sounds of, if there's any birds there? What kind of sounds are there? Are they soft sounds, or are they really loud sounds? Listen closely to everything around you. And keep listening to see if you notice any distant sounds. The things that you were visualizing earlier, that you could see around you, are they making any sounds? You were noticing the color of the water. What kind of sounds is the water making as it comes to the beach, to the shore? Okay. Are you drinking anything there? Or are you eating anything there? In this comfort space of yours, as you can see the things around you, as you can hear all the things around you, what can you taste? Are you eating ice cream? Maybe you're having a cold drink. Can you really taste it? What's the flavor like? How does it taste? Try and savor those little details. Yeah, and you want to try and combine these senses as much as you can. So what you see, can you hear it? If it happens to be edible, are you eating it? Can you taste it? But more importantly, what can you feel? Let's say you are on the beach. What can you feel? Like, can you feel the sand on your feet? Can you feel the water on your feet? What's the temperature like? Really try to imagine each of those details. Think of how the air feels on your skin. Think of how your clothes feel on your body. And take a moment to kind of really immerse yourself into that. And what kind of smells are present? You know, if you're eating something, does it smell nice? Can you smell the salty water through the air? Is it a strong smell? Or is it a faint smell? Your goal here is to really try to imagine this comfort space that you have. The goal is to try and fill that space with as much of your own senses as you can. And it doesn't, happen overnight. It takes time. So what we will do is we'll go through this again, and I'll leave longer pauses and gaps so you guys can kind of really immerse yourself. So just bear in mind again that you're bringing yourself back to this comfort space. You keep your eyes closed and try and use all your senses to imagine this setting in great detail. So try to visualize all the things you can see around you. So if you're on a beach, what do you see around you? What do you notice in the distance? What can you hear? Are there really soft sounds, or are there really loud sounds? Are you eating anything or drinking anything? Try and remember the flavors and the taste of the food and drink. What can you feel around you? What's the temperature like? How does the air feel on your skin? How do your clothes feel on your skin? What kind of smells are present? Are they really strong? Or is it really faint? Take some time to kind of bring all those senses together when you're trying to imagine this location and fill it with details. And when you do this exercise, if you do it for 5 or 10 minutes each day, you'll notice that you'll fill it with more and more little details the more you do it. And the more it becomes the easier it becomes to access that mindset, but also you'll find yourself more calm and relaxed. And that's what it's really about. That's why you're doing this, is that it's something that you can do and take 5-10 minutes out, whether it's on a bus, whether it's in your garden, whether it's at home, whether it's in between classes or whatever it may be. You can do this. It just takes you 5 or 10 minutes. So this is just kind of a brief little intro. If you do want to go through any of this content again, and if you do if you have any more questions, we'll talk about that now. But if you do want to go through this again, we do have a follow-along video that's up on the DBS Current Students website. If you go to the online welfare corner, there's a video there that you can follow along with, and it's similar to this. So do try that as well if you feel a bit lost. If anyone has any questions at the moment, do pop them into the chat below, and I'll try and answer them while we wait for our guest to join us in about 5 or so minutes. Has anyone ever done something like this before? Or has anyone not done something like this before and they found it quite interesting? Oh, here's Maria now. Oh,
Hi,
hello, hello.
how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm good, I'm good. Long time no see.
I know. Great meditation session.
Oh, thank you so much. I literally just have a question there from the DBS Volleyball Club. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the question is, how often should you practice mindfulness?
That's a great question. Because mindfulness is different to everybody, I think. Um, in terms of practicing mindfulness, you could practice mindfulness, meditation, yoga, whatever suits you best. Um, um, I think looking after your mental health should be like looking after your teeth. Like we brush our teeth in the morning, brush our teeth in the night, make sure that we take care of ourselves physically. So if you're doing something for your mental health once or twice a day, that's amazing. That's kind of, I think, what we all should be doing. But obviously, not everybody has that kind of time. And mindfulness isn't really for everybody. So I would say as much as you
Time.
can.
Would you say it's like the lack of knowledge about it even? I think most people don't fully know how they would even go about it. When you
Yeah.
think about a lot of mental health, people think, oh, that's just for counselors and therapists and for professionals.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, mindfulness is a
easy
bit of a
access.
buzzword as well at the moment. I think it's like not many people even know what exactly mindfulness is or how to practice it. So I know Brezzy does really good podcasts on mindfulness and how to practice it and also around mental health. So I listened to those a good bit. That's a good podcast to get into if you're only starting mindfulness. Um, but mindfulness is just one thing you can do. There's also like meditation is different to mindfulness. There's yoga. Um,
Breathing exercises. There's so many
yeah,
things, and we will be going through a lot of them over the next week or so as well. So that is actually a really good intro into kind of what this is all about and what this week is about as well. Because obviously we are going to be going, after the lockdown, we are going to be going back out into the real world. And there is going to be a lot of, stress and anxiety that's going to go along with it. And, there's already studies shown in other countries of people who are like, struggling with their mental health because of the lockdown and because of kind of going back to work and going back out into the public. So I think now more than ever is a good time for kind of people to kind of upskill themselves when it comes to mental health.
definitely. Yeah,
So yeah, like the
yeah.
importance of mental health. What would you say like is, what students can do to work on their mental health?
Yeah, there's loads of things that you can do. So I'd say that a few things are definitely checking in with yourself. A lot of the time we just keep busy doing our daily routines. At the moment, that's being disrupted. So it's a really good time to kind of listen to the signs that our body's giving us. I'm very sorry, that was my kitten. He just interrupted this video. He's such a brat. um, but I would say, yeah, definitely it's a really good time to get back in touch with yourself. If you're not feeling great, kind of ask yourself why that may be. Um, and then taking steps to kind of counteract that. If there's something wrong, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to take care of yourself more? What are you going to do for yourself on a daily basis? Because we have that time now. We have the time to look after ourselves. So it's a really good opportunity to kind of, if you haven't been doing it, to start doing it now.
That's, that's a very valid point. Like usually people say like, oh, I don't have enough time, or I don't have, the resources, or oh, I'm just too busy, from traveling back from work and all this. Well, your travel from work and home is literally 2 feet now, because from your bedroom to your work desk. So you all
Exactly.
we have is time in the world to kind of learn something new and to kind of look after ourselves. So like what about self-care? Like so what do you do for self-care and like how have you been, taking care of yourself during the lockdown?
Yeah, it's definitely a really weird time for all of us. I don't know about you, but this is probably the weirdest thing I've ever lived through. And having to cope with all the uncertainty around the future, a lot of isolation. Obviously, we're social beings, we're not used to being so much on our own. So it's definitely been,
You give Jill a shout out. Jill hasn't hugged anyone outside her family for like 2 months, and if
oh,
anyone that
Jill.
knows Jill, anyone that knows Jill, like Jill needs hugs. So shout out to
Jill
Jill.
does need hugs. Jill, I can't wait to give you a hug. Um, but yeah, exactly. Just like that, it's not what we're all used to. So it's definitely been a roller coaster. I've definitely had good days and bad days, and just have to ride the waves, take one day at a time. Um, I think most of the time I've been pretty positive about the whole thing. But there's definitely been days where, I've just felt like all I want to do is cry. So I think that's normal. I've just been allowing myself those days. I'm lucky that I have the time. If I feel like spending the whole day in bed, I can do that. But the most important thing is that I never let it kind of go beyond that day. Like, I give myself the day, and then the next day I make sure that it's going to be a good day, and that I'm not going to dwell on things, and I'm going to move forward. So I think that's probably the most important part of giving yourself that time.
On the head there, it's like give yourself those days. Like
Yeah,
it's like it's cyclical. Like mental health, no one's always got perfect mental health, and it's not meant to be that way. You're meant to have those days, that are a bit low, and you're meant to have those days that you kind of sometimes you don't feel the best, and it's okay to have those days. And
yeah,
it's okay to accept that, and it's okay to think, okay, you know what, today's just one of those days, and I'll look after myself just by kind of chilling out. I have a
exactly.
question here. It says, how can you tell if someone has a mental health problem during quarantine? Wow.
Yeah, so that's a good question. If you're checking in with yourself, then you should be kind of noticing maybe some changes in yourself. Maybe if you're, like we said, you're giving yourself that time, but it's going beyond 1, 2, 3 days where you just feel like it's not ending, and that you can't get out of bed for that period of time, and you might be feeling really low. Then definitely you should be reaching out to Hamza, because DBS have free counselling services, which is something that you aren't going to be able to avail of for the rest of your life. Like, it's a really great opportunity to take while you have it here in college. It's so simple and easy, online sessions you can do. All you have to do is reach out to Hamza, and that's done. So that's a really good thing. I would say if you're finding you're struggling right now, to definitely seek help. And if you're talking about kind of if somebody else, checking in with them is also important. If you think someone else might be having a really hard time, FaceTime them, give them a call, ask them how they're doing. Be honest about how you're doing. Sometimes that helps other people to open up about themselves. And then to just kind of make sure that you're keep touching base with them, and that they're taking care of themselves as well.
Yeah, it could be something simple as like someone that is always active on social media and they just happen to disappear for like 2 days.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
something simple like that, yeah. And then you think like, oh, are they okay? Just a quick hi, hello message, that sort of thing. And it's become very
yeah,
common now that everyone's doing these group chats and Zoom calls and all these kind of things. And it's just a great way to check in with someone else if you feel like they might be having an issue. And remember, you're not there to try and solve their issues. You're there just to lend an ear. And sometimes people just kind of want
exactly.
that feeling of knowing there is someone there that's listening. And if you and they feel like they need to go a bit step further, then obviously contact myself or contact student services, and then we can get them, the help that they need.
Yeah,
That's the goal. Like, that's why we're here. So you did mention that, yeah, like I mean, it's very different now, but before, like students would just come into the office, I would have a chat, and it'd be very informal or just through the corridor. And I think people might feel that it's a bit more formalized if they're video calling me or something. So I think
yeah.
that's something that we're gonna have to cross as well. But what was your experience like in DVS?
Oh,
You want to kind
I had a
of
great experience in DBS. DBS is a great place, such a close community, so easy to get involved, I would say. It must be really hard for everybody that's so used to being in that environment, getting involved, being around the common room, to now not being able to go into the building. So that's really challenging for people as well. But yeah, it's all gonna come back in September. We've things to look forward to. Um, it's such a great community, and people are still there. Reach out to people that you were friends with in college. You can still do things online. You can have your chats. I'm not sure if you guys are still running some virtual events, but I know that I saw that that was a possibility.
Yeah, there was a couple of online quizzes and things like that. But
Yeah,
and you know,
just keep getting
it's
involved, I would say to
just
people.
the way that the college works and like how our events and stuff are going to be is obviously different too.
Hmm.
Um, but what advice would you have for like new students or like let's say students who just finished first year and they
Hmm.
possibly didn't get too involved and now they're going into second year and they might not be as motivated but they just need that push. What would you?
Yeah. It's just all about that first step, really. Just bringing yourself to join that club, go to the first meeting, go up and talk to somebody in the common room, go into the student services office for the first time, and get the information. Once you take that first step, then the possibilities are endless. Like I got my job in DBS, all from joining, a society in my first year. Um, exactly. So. It's just about that first step. Just push yourself to do the first step, and then you'll find that you're meeting really nice people, like-minded people from societies, and then it all just gets easier from there.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like we take it for granted that like, oh, there's so many students that are there and everyone's trying to get involved. And there's always someone that you feel like, oh, they would be so great if they got involved, but then they just need that push. So maybe if you do have a friend that's like that and you kind of want to bring them along to something, give them that push. That sometimes that's all that's needed.
Yeah.
You just need that one little step forward. Actually, interesting on that note. So this time last year, we were getting ready to go to Tanzania. Okay.
Yeah.
Adam went into a room and there was four girls in that classroom and he said to them, "Hey guys, we're going to Tanzania. It's in 2 weeks. Do you want to come?" And now they had thought about it, but they didn't really know, but they just agreed to it because Adam was so convincing and it's Adam. And they were like, "Oh, okay, let's do it." And they came with us to Tanzania. That was their first event in DBS in 3 years and they went to Tanzania. And when they came back, they were like, "Oh, I wish I went to everything else." You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just reminded me of Tanzania, so I was like, "You're, the founder of Tanzania almost." No, I'm joking. But yeah, like, what was that experience like? Kind of from organizing it to how did you get the idea to even go there, and then how we all brought it together, and just your whole experience with it.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best experiences of my life. I have to say it was amazing. Um, I really didn't think when I was organizing it that it would turn out the way it did. There was a lot of a lot of it was yourself, crazy, unorganized chaos. But I think no matter how much planning I did, it was never going to turn out the way we might have thought it would be. But it was amazing, every single part of it. Just meeting people from a completely different culture, completely different world, students, um, the same age as us that have had completely different upbringings, education, um, having chats with them, really growing from them, giving our knowledge to them. We were so welcomed in the community as well. It was like that was the most overwhelming part, wasn't it? It was like people ran to you.
We didn't really feel that out of place there. We were just like, "Oh, okay, this is great." Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was lovely. And it was a once in a lifetime experience. I'm so glad that you guys are still keeping it up. I know this year it was completely
Oh,
stopped.
I really feel bad for the guys that wanted to go this year. It's just
I
circumstance
know.
just didn't allow it. But yeah,
It will go
100%. Like it
again.
was definitely a trip of a lifetime. Like it's
Yeah, it's something everyone should do at some stage. I definitely recommend everybody to travel to countries with completely different cultures, and it's great that DBS give that kind of opportunity to people now, and that you can learn in a different way to learning inside the classroom.
yeah, we had a group of 30 of us, and like I think most people didn't know each other. Like obviously,
Yeah.
our like the SU people, we knew each other, but the others we didn't know who they were, and just takes about a day or two, and everyone's all best pals, and everyone still keeps in touch till this day. So it just goes to show
Yeah.
you, like, those kind of trips are like, trips for life
Yeah.
that you keep with you. Yeah.
And this is like a great time for people to kind of think about, really kind of learn about themselves and think about what they might want to do. When all the world goes back to a bit of normality, like what are you interested in? What have you never done that you'd like to try? I found a few new interests that I didn't know I had during quarantine. So that's been really great for keeping me going because I feel like now I have new interests, now I have new things to focus on. So things like volunteering, things like getting involved in different societies in DBS next year. It's a great time to think about what you'd like to get involved in. Um, and yeah, I think just really embrace this period of time.
All over you. We have Anne and Jill in
Sorry.
the chat just throwing hearts in the
Oh,
comments.
hi Anne. Hi Jill. Miss you both. But yeah, so it's a great time to think about these things now. Embrace it.
On that note, what about you? So what's your plan? You did psychology, and
I did psychology.
actually, I don't know if you
Yes.
want to tell the guys what you've been doing over the year.
Yeah, so I did psychology and then I worked in DBS as the welfare officer. Hamza is doing a great job in my replacement. And then I moved to New York for nearly a year until I had to flee the country because of the coronavirus. And now I'm back here. So I'm in a similar boat to a lot of kind of graduates that might feel like your whole, you had this big plan and your life was just kind of turned upside down, and now maybe you don't have a job and you can't go on that J1 that you'd organized, you can't do your summer travels that you thought of. Um, and I know that people have been working so hard studying for, writing theses, and now it's just all stopped in its tracks. So it is a really uncertain time, especially with future job prospects. But I think what I've been really doing is kind of trying to focus on the here and now, like mindfulness, focus on each day, not to think too much about it. It'll all work out. Jobs will come back, the world will get going again. So yeah, I'm just using this time really to focus on myself, to embrace the slowness, to embrace the downtime, to look after myself. And then I'll be ready to go.
Holiday for the world. It was a forced
Yeah,
holiday. Everyone got
exactly.
forced to spend some time at home. We have a
Exactly, and
question
find
here.
out what matters. Yeah.
Uh, Maria, are you still vegan?
Am I still vegan? Who's running the volleyball team? Um,
Someone with
am I
insider
still vegan?
knowledge.
Yeah. Hi, mysterious DBS volleyball club. I am semi-vegan. I was never very good at not eating chocolate, which I'm still eating.
I
And
didn't know that.
no, you can't. There's dairy in chocolate.
Oh.
I know. I know. I still don't eat meat, and I still, I'm mainly vegan, but I definitely the odd time eat eggs and chocolate and stuff like that. So
She's only vegan outside Bundoran. Now, can you verify that?
that's true, James. That's true. And cheese pizza. I'm just getting ratted out left, right, and center here.
Oh my God. Lads, this is not an expose. It's not TMZ.
I think people are
Oh
looking
God.
for
Yeah,
more cat content, so I'll
that
give you
content.
a bit of him sleeping here.
Yeah, like, do you have any kind of? Well, I want to see if people have more questions. Anyone
Yeah,
else have any?
there's something I'll say in the meantime before somebody comes in and asks a question. Um, the yoga class that I do, which is amazing, I do it twice a week, and it's really helped me during quarantine to kind of. I find sometimes that meditation and mindfulness can be really difficult, really hard to get into, and it takes a lot of practice. So I've been practicing yoga quite a bit, and I find that a bit easier to kind of focus my mind in. And the class I'm doing is doing a charity fundraiser on Wednesday, online on Zoom, for Aware. So that ties in really nice with mental health this week. So if anyone would like to do it, I can send you the link, and it's just donate whatever you'd like to Aware.
Me, I'll post that on our story, and yeah,
Sure.
everyone do check that out. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's a really
It's
good way
good,
to
ties
kind of see
everything
if you like
together.
it. Exactly.
Oh, and it's a good way to kind of tie everything together, really.
Yeah, exactly. So if anybody's interested, I can pass on that information too. I'll be there on Wednesday at 8. And it's a really great class. Yeah, I don't think anyone's asking any more about
About the
just cats.
cats or about just questions in general? Um,
Just
well, that's all
cats,
right then.
yeah.
Maybe people are, starting to go back to work today as well, so who knows?
Yeah, yeah. I would say for people, you asked me a question about people that are living like alone, like students in student accommodation. Um, so I just encourage everybody if they have any parks near them, any lakes, canals, to get out as much as possible is so important, and to not coop yourself up every day, all day.
Yeah, you have to meet someone.
Nature
You
is
can meet
such a great
outside in the
way.
group of four. You can meet
Yeah,
outside, keep your distance.
exactly.
Doesn't mean you have to just
Exactly.
stay in your room. So do
I know, especially it's
and
great now that we can meet people outside. So yeah, you can start meeting your college friends, your people down the hall from you. You can now leave together in a group, which is I'd encourage everybody to do.
I'm just waiting for the barbers to open up and then I'm out there.
Yeah, exactly. I think is
Uh,
that Jordan? Is that
that's
Jordan or Adam?
It's
Jordan.
Jordan.
Hi, Jordan. What is the hardest part about trying to get into yoga or meditation? Um, yeah, I would say that I was really afraid to go to yoga classes at the beginning because everyone seems like they're like really flexible and really amazing and doing headstands and everything. So I was like, oh God, I'm just gonna make a fool of myself. Um, but what I've started doing is the beginner classes on Zoom. So first of all, I can turn off my camera. Nobody has to see me, and I don't have to feel that embarrassment or that pressure. So the online classes have been amazing for me. I definitely recommend. Loads of people are doing them on donation based, free, so they're not expensive. You can join whenever you want. You don't always have to go. So yeah, I think now is a great time to get into yoga because you don't have that initial fear and embarrassment that you have kind of going to a class at the start. Um, and it's just kind of learning the moves. You get a bit more used to it the more you do it. You kind of feel the flow a bit more and you kind of know the positions. So yeah, getting into it can be tough, but once you get into it, it's great. Meditation, I think meditation I find hard. You really need to embrace it and really, really focus and practice. It definitely takes practice. The first time you do it's the hardest. But that too gets easier with practice.
Yeah, go through that with guided meditation initially, just to kind of have someone talk you
Definitely.
through it.
Yeah.
Because if you're not being taught through it, like it's like going to the gym for the first time. You need your personal
Yeah.
trainer there to kind of show you how to lift before you can actually go on
True.
to the heavier weights. And it's
Yeah.
similar with this, like you're training your mental health as if you're training any other muscle on your body. And you go through it with someone, and you go through it with someone that's teaching you how to do the steps, and then you can get better and progressively kind of move forward.
Exactly. Exactly. But definitely I recommend people to give it a go. Why not? Try it now. And if you don't like it, there's always something else you can try for your mental health. There's an abundance of things. There's gratitude journals and challenges, and there's so much out there that you can do for your mental health. Podcasts. So,
We're going to talk about that one of the days as well.
oh,
So there's so
amazing.
many things there. Yeah.
Yeah,
We used to run wine
so
and
many
paint
things.
nights. They were great.
We did. Soon we'll do it again.
James, another question. How do you stay motivated during lockdown?
That's a great one. Because I think when you're looking at social media, you see people baking banana bread, you see people starting business plans, you see people, getting ripped, going to the gym every day. And you kind of look at it and you're like, how are these people so motivated? And I'm, watching the next series of Netflix, I'm binge watching it every day. So yeah, I would say that don't put too much pressure on yourself to be super motivated during this time. Um, it's not really, maybe some people it's like the perfect opportunity for them to develop their business plan. But if you're like me and you don't have a business plan or a novel that you want to write, then it's just more about giving yourself time to recuperate and it's a really great time to just be kind to yourself. Don't push yourself too hard. If you do kind of just need a little bit of motivation even to get out of bed, I always kind of try to get up at the same time in the morning. I get dressed into what I call normal clothes. Like I get like fed up of just wearing tracksuit bottoms and hoodies all the time, so I'll put on a pair of jeans, just to, go to the shops. Or, I've seen Jill Ryan's Instagram, and she is nailing the going to the shop outfits. Um, so yeah, I'd say even just getting dressed into the clothes you like, and getting up at the same time, cooking yourself a nice breakfast. Do have something that you want to do that day. If it's read for a little while, if it's making your bed, maybe just making your bed in the morning is something that you can be proud of for the day. If you just do one thing that you can kind of like say that you're proud of doing for the day, then that's amazing. Don't take it too far.
With motivation, it's kind of like you can't really compare two people's levels of motivation, I feel.
Yeah,
It's always like you compare yourself to your own levels of motivation. Like your motivated levels at your peak as compared to your motivated levels when you're not, feeling the best. And sometimes, it can be really like, it can be really difficult just to get out of bed for some people.
yeah,
And if you
definitely.
can even get out of bed, that means you were motivated. The fact that you were able to even get
Exactly.
out of bed. So for you to get
Exactly.
out of bed might be the same level of motivation it takes some guy to write a book, you know? So
Definitely.
don't
Take it at your
compare
own
to that.
pace.
Take it at your own pace and try and go at it at a way that you can kind of maintain. Because the goal is not about being motivated for just one day. It's about kind of having
Hmm.
that motivation throughout. And it's about
Yeah.
kind of progressing with that going forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and if you do feel like, okay, I don't have an idea of what I want to do, there's tons of great resources out there, and you can always send us a DM and ask for advice.
Yeah. I see Anne wrote a question here. Do you find it hard to keep a routine when you're not working at home? Definitely. Definitely. It's really difficult. Um like when I
What time do you go to
started,
sleep at, Maria? When do you go to sleep?
I go to sleep. I always go to sleep like before midnight. I rarely stay up later than that. But I've always been that way. I'm a
I was like,
sleepy
if you say
person.
2 a.m., I'm
I
gonna be
love
like,
sleep.
what?
No, I love sleep. So it's more the opposite. It's getting up in the morning. That's hard because I'm like, I want to stay in bed, and I'll stay till like 10, 11, 12. So I tried to be strict with getting up before 10. But yeah, it can be hard. I setting an alarm, getting up at the same time every day. Like at the start of quarantine, I was forgetting to like brush my teeth because I didn't have a routine. I wasn't like getting up, brushing my teeth, running out the door, and I was like, oh shit, it's like 2 and I haven't brushed my teeth yet. What's happening? So like your routine's completely messed up from all of this. So I write things out that I want to do that day. Try get up at the same time, go to bed before midnight, and if I don't get all of it done, that's fine. I have another how many weeks to do it, but at least I have a goal.
Yeah, this is one of the strangest things that I've noticed around, especially around my house as well. So, like, my dad, I don't think he's ever had a summer holiday or like a vacation since he was about 22, 21. So, over 20 years, I don't think he's had any time off. And because of the lockdown, he can't work, so he's just at home. I have
Yeah.
never seen anyone just binge through TV shows like that. Like, I think like, I went to sleep on Saturday at around like 12, and my dad was still up watching a TV show. I got up for work, went downstairs for like lunch just to kind of see everyone. He was still watching Netflix.
I
He hadn't gone to sleep. And I
know
was
that's
like,
the type of
dude,
world
like
we're living in right
I was like,
now.
you have no routine. And he's like, yeah. He's like, for once in my life, I have no routine. I'll just do whatever I want. So it's so
Yeah,
weird.
and
Like
that can
some
be
people,
great for some
yeah,
people.
for some
Yeah.
people who had like a really high strung routine where it was like on the minute, who are now on the flip side of no routine and they're loving it. Then you have on the other side people who had no routine are suddenly like, shit, I need a routine. So
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
balance, isn't it?
It is. It's all about balance, and it's all about what's right for you and just looking after yourself. That's the most important thing. So if you haven't been really concentrating on that, definitely start now.
And your body has a way of telling itself, and it'll tell you when things aren't going right. And it's just,
Exactly.
be aware of them and be willing to accept that, and then ask for
Yeah,
help if you do need it. Do you have
exactly.
any closing messages for everyone? Or you are going to
Um,
send us the link, right, for to
yes,
share for you? Yeah.
I can send you that and you can put it on your story or whatever way you want to do it for people to sign up. But yeah, other than that, I would say to people to just take care of themselves, use this time wisely, um, use this time to look after your mental health, get into a routine of looking after your mental health. If it's you can only manage once a day, if you can only manage a few times a week. But I mean, our brains are so important, and the amount of things we process every single day. If you go 7 days without even checking in with yourself, that's kind of when you start to lose touch and when things start to go wrong. So just be checking in with yourself regularly. If things don't feel right, do something about it, reach out to somebody, ask yourself why you're feeling this way. And things like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, going outside for walks, these are really great ways of just getting in touch with yourself and giving yourself that time to look after yourself. So yeah.
Oh, and one last question here is, what mental health apps would you recommend for students?
Cool. So Calm is a very good meditation app. I would go for that. But if you're looking for kind of free stuff, there's a lot of free stuff around. Search through it. Like I said, Brezzy does good podcasts around mental health, and he always does kind of 10 to 15 minutes of mindfulness meditation with every episode, and that's free on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
YouTube has like Calm is also on YouTube. So you can go through a 5, 10, 15, or even a 25-minute version, depending on how much time you have or how much time you can invest into it.
Start small.
So
and build it up, I would say, because the longer it gets, the more challenging it is. So yeah, there's loads out there. There's loads of free classes and stuff going on at the moment too. Lots of people are offering Instagram lives, all these different classes. So yeah, just
another live session like this on Wednesday, and then another one on Friday as well, but different aspects of mental health and different kind of workouts.
Yeah, that's perfect. So you can find it right here.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to go to the volleyball club.
Whoever you are. That's great.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Maria, for coming.
Oh,
and
thanks for having me.
Honestly, it was great to catch up again, and hopefully we will, meet up in person once everything is back to
definitely. And thank you all for your questions and for actually watching this. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anne says bye, friend. All right, cheers, Maria. Thank you so much.
Bye, Anne. Bye, Hamza.
We will
Thank
be
you.
in touch again. Cheers.
It's great. See you soon.
Bye, guys.